Hey everyone, I'm Mark,
And I'm Alex.
and this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks. Welcome everyone to episode 56 of the podcast. We're glad you're here. We hope you're enjoying the series. We're going to go and jump back into our playthrough into Macalania Woods, man. So we had that kind of conversation last time with Auron. They're just like, they know something's up with Yuna. They know that has a plan that she's not going to share with them. And of course, it just involves this whole wedding with Seymour. First off the bat, you're kind of given two choices, man. You can go up to the left path. That's where the marker's leading you. Or you can go to the right, and you're met with Lucille and Elma.
Yeah, just kind of seeing them all along the journey. But basically, they're blocking the path there, so you can't really get through or anything. Of course, the news is getting around about the wedding and all that, so they're just congratulating. But like everybody's congratulating Yuna, but she's not happy, and
Yeah.
our crew is not obviously very enthused about it.
No, they're not very happy either, and I just think it's still hilarious because they, like you said, they want to congratulate her on the betrothal, and it's like she hasn't said anything yet. Actually, like she's yes made it in her mind, but along the way again, these Guado are still just spreading like, oh no, they're getting married, and it's like, what if she
Yeah,
said no? You know what I mean? They're
yeah.
almost like putting her in such a spot to force her
Yeah,
to
we're,
have to go
sp-
through with it to not let
we're
down
spreading all
everyone.
this spreading all this misinformation everywhere.
Yeah, but they also mention that I think it's Lucille. She's just kind of like, this is Bavel. So we know that's the path to Bavel. Not that that really means much, but if you're just curious about where places are in the world. Anyways, though, we can't go that way. So we're going to go on back. And, we have some enemies here. Right off the bat, the blue element, just a typical element. It's kind of the more water themed area, which is kind of interesting, I guess, is what's a
Yeah,
water, I guess, is the element in these woods.
yeah, there's a lot of spheres and things like that,
Yes.
and spheres and water are closely linked.
We'll find out a little bit more about that here pretty soon. Anyways, blue element, weak to lightning, really easy. I mean, it's just kind of how it goes from here on out. Man, I will say, just before we get into any further, it's kind of getting a joke in my playthrough, man, because they're just overkilling nonstop. And so it's just like
Oh
keeps
yeah,
catapulting me further and
yeah,
further.
yeah,
Anyways, one of the other ones too, you got Wasp. It's just another bee, weak to ice, which is a little different. You got some that are kind of weak to lightning and stuff, and some that are weak to ice and fire. I mean, obviously, if you have sensor, it's all going to be there.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. A lot of these guys are a pain, like kind of like lightning. Thunder plains. Basically, the enemy encounters have just been getting really, really intense, and this is a point where
Yeah.
a lot of these guys start to hit really hard. Like you were talking about overkilling. I know usually when I get to this point, even with the magic spheres that we've gotten up till now, blue elements are really, really tough to overkill because
Yeah.
they have something like
Yeah, like
what is it?
1500 health, I think,
They've
now.
got like 1500. Yeah, I was gonna say. So even if you're doing 2000, I think you have to do around 2200 or 2300 overkill those guys. You also got these chimeras. These guys are really tough. Luckily, they come in counters just by themselves, so you just have to deal with one at a time. But basically, these guys go through a sequence of attacks. Basically, switches between Aqua Breath, Thundera, this punch attack, or like kind of a horn attack or whatever, charge, and then they go Megiddo Flame. Actually, they go Aqua Breath after the punch, right? And then
Yeah.
Megiddo Flame in that order. They hit really hard. A lot of these do, near 1,000 damage. So Silence Darkness is your friend. And another cool thing with this, you can steal Arctic Winds, which are good for customizing Ice Proof, which is going to be
Okay.
really, really useful. So I think you can get those Common Steel 1, Rare Steel 2.
Nice. Yeah, and you can lance it for Aqua Breath with Kamari, so make sure to get that. And yeah, no, man, those flames, it hit Kamari for like 960. It's like,
Yeah,
geez, this
does
is
1,000 damage is crazy.
it's crazy.
So,
And I do remember that, yeah, these fights, and it's just grueling. You get in so many of them. You just have these
oh yeah, encounter
long
rates really,
stretches of just
yeah.
corridors you have to run around forever. And yeah.
Hmm.
Marusu is here. I think we've had this one before. I don't know, but regardless, it's just one of those kind of shelled, armored guys, weak to fire and lightning, and then obviously it's just armored, so take it out pretty easy. Iguion, I guess, is one of those kind of
I
fast
think you got it.
lizards.
Yeah.
He's also
Iguan,
weak
yeah.
to ice, so we got a couple weak to ice, him and the wasp, and just kind of the main theme, same thing, silence and petrifying hit as we can call it.
Yeah, and then you got another kind of unique enemy to this area. It's called a Zephos, and it's kind of like it's actually exactly like the yeah, the very first boss battle, basically when you get introduced to Riku at that time,
Yeah,
like
Zeke
way,
for
way
you.
back at the very beginning.
Back when she
Way
thought
back,
Tidus was a fiend alongside the actual fiend,
yeah.
you know.
We are Fiend. So yeah, these guys are pretty annoying too. They do the basically like the claw blade attack. Does a pretty good amount of damage. I think they can poison you quite often as well. So basically walk in there and have them use Dark Buster if you have it,
Yeah,
and that's the easiest way to deal with them.
they have a decent amount of health too. I think it's like a little bit over 2,000 or something. So you know, I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
gonna take, I don't know, 2 to 3 turns to take them down, unless you're just
And
beasting
I
it.
wouldn't bother stealing. I wouldn't bother stealing because they only have like I think high potion.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, not really
maybe
worth it.
maybe X potion is a rare steal, but nothing crazy worth it, I would say.
There are a few treasures here on just kind of the path within, I don't know, the first screen. Like, it's quite long. It goes on for a distance. But there's a Sleepy Kate Sith, which it's not the easiest one to hide. There's actually kind of two chests like this. It's going to be on the left side of the screen. It's almost kind of behind a tree. You'll kind of get a glimpse of it as you actually go by it, but going up to it, probably won't see it
Mhm.
there. That's kind of interesting, you know, the Sleepy Kate Sith. You know, I do find it funny when you get the weapons for like Lulu and Yuna that just have kind of status effects. Like right now, I did buy Lulu the, what was it, the Death Touch, and so I have
Oh
that
yeah.
one for, and she's actually taken down a couple enemies because, you know, I'm like, why not? I had
Nice.
the money, and so you got the Sleepy
Nice.
one here. There's also another chest with 2,000 gills, so make sure to pick that up.
Yeah, and basically, classic Final Fantasy X through this area, right? Like basically the whole area is just a little twisting linear path that kind of goes through the trees and kind of goes up in elevation, down, etc.
Yeah, step, step, step,
But
battle. Step, step, step,
yeah,
battle. Yep, that's
pretty
Final Fantasy for you.
pretty much it's like da, 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 screen shatters. Da, 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 da,
Yeah,
da,
and you're
da,
like,
da,
oh gosh,
da.
all right. I just want to try to get up this route, like maybe
Yeah,
4 steps. Can I please do that? No.
yeah, but next screen you've got another chest. This one I don't think is particularly hard to find. It's just or hard to see. It's just Phoenix down times 3. Then you get kind of this funny little scene, right, where basically you're coming around, you're sort of turning this corner on the path, and then Bartello comes running out of nowhere like, "Duh!"
Dude, and I love when they do, like, they're running so fast, like they can't keep their torso like upright because the amount of G force they're pulling when they run in is like,
Oh, he's
oh, they
leaning
can't. Yeah,
backwards.
they're
Yeah, I
leaning
know
back.
what
Like,
you
I
mean.
can't go and run too
Yeah.
fast. But apparently he lost Donna, which I mean, did she have to go use the restroom? Like, it's only 2 of you. Like, how did you just lose the only other person with you? Number one. And so to
Oh,
use,
man.
to use one of Waka's line for the blasted out bed, dude, are they like some ninja warriors? Like, how are they stealing these summoners all the time? Now we did get a glimpse from the shoe puff and stuff, but I don't know. Again, it's Donna. She's a loudmouth, man. Did she like they just knock her out? Use the chloroform? Like, how did it
Seriously.
happen?
I mean, we already know that, her and Bartello are inseparable.
Well, he is
So,
freaking out
yeah.
though because he lost her. Auron, Auron gives him a talking to, as Auron does. Remember, Bartello, like that's his idol, man, right? And so Auron, to sum it up, with this line, it says, "Guard your emotions, then guard your summoner." Whew, heavy stuff.
Doesn't it does like a zoom in on his face too.
It's like
It's like,
dun
oh my
dun
goodness.
dun.
Yeah.
Ooh, I must guard
Just like,
my emotions, then my
I've never thought of that
summoner.
before. Yeah.
Yes, Master Sensei Orn. And I mean, it does work. So he's like, he gets it. He's like, yes, and comes down. He's like, you're right. And so he's going to go look for it. Riku kind of chases after, and someone asks, like, what is it? And she's like, oh, I was just gonna wish him good luck. Which she wasn't. So what was she doing? It's like, man, we got a witness. We got to get that guy. I think she was pointing to someone like the Outback Guerrilla Warriors in the forest, like, yeah, take him out, snapping her fingers, like, get him. He knows too much.
Yeah.
Because,
No, that is an interesting point. I mean, I think I read something on that too because I never really thought of it, I guess, that deeply when I first played the game a couple
sure.
times. I didn't really notice that too
No,
much.
I mean, I didn't really think about it too much either. Just as
Yeah,
I've mentioned before, putting the podcast together and playing through in these episodes, it's
yeah,
fun. And also being much older
yeah,
and playing it so many more times.
right.
It
And,
is
and
kind of a
she
really
does know.
Yeah, it's a really interesting
Yeah,
concept because, she herself was part of kidnapping Yuna. And
right.
like, we know Riku is like, we know she's high up, right? We'll just put it that way. And so it's just very interesting that she knows what's going on with the summoners in the kidnapping. And I'm pretty sure Yuna and Lulu know because, I mean, there's just a random Abed girl right after the Abed kidnapped Yuna and she's looking in rough shape and she's soaking wet. Not hard to put. Well, I don't know. Maybe they're all as dumb as Waka is because that dude's dumb as rock. Abed.
I
I
bet.
mean, but still, it's fun to think about because it's like you guys are just cool with having like this. I don't
Yeah,
know, this terrorist leader in your party essentially. I say terrorist, but
yeah.
the kidnapping ring busted.
She's connected.
She knows people.
So
She got a whole like
exactly.
giant robot that they built just to literally steal someone for an amphibious kidnapping is what they built this robot for.
And
Wait,
I mean, not to go too much on a tangent on that, but they built it specifically for that, and it was still terrible. It's like,
yeah, it still
okay,
didn't
why'd you
work.
build a machine that can only do 150
Well,
damage?
they also put like an extreme sniper scope on a laser to shoot a thing that's as big as a mountain. So, like
Yeah.
as you go through this same screen, you get the scene with Barthel and all that. Eventually, you'll just get in, this with that bird harp man that we saw way back in Luca, and we even talked about because they're just kind of strange. He comes up and he's like a flower. I don't know. He says some poetry or something. I can't even remember what he says, but he's playing his harp and he's just like da da da. And we're like, dude, I ain't buying what you're selling, pal. Like, get lost, deadbeat. Like, I got no change.
What's love? How does it go? The blue butterfly will lead away to secret things, or something along those
Yeah,
lines. You know
it's
what I
something
mean? Like,
like that.
kind of saying that basically, you'll get a treasure if you collect the right butterflies. And yeah, this screen actually, after you kind of see that scene, you go along, you get a
Yes.
chest with a remedy, kind of behind a tree, sort of hidden on the left there. But basically, at the end of the trail, you see that guy over there, you can talk to him, and this is what starts this butterfly capture mini game that you can do right now if you want. Actually has a pretty good price to it, but
Yes.
oh man, I hate this mini game.
It's not difficult. You won't. It's not dangerous. Let's put it that way. But it is very frustrating without no encounters. So for right now, if you're playing like a no cheat thing with if you're playing the remastered version, we have our easy cheats we can just toggle on and off. But like if you're being a purist, I don't know, man. It's really tough because you're going to be getting into random encounters and it's
Yeah,
timed, and so it's kind of like you got to really be hustling and defeating some enemies.
and they're pretty annoying encounters. So they're not your typical encounters. That's what makes these ones so annoying. So basically, one thing I will say about this is luckily today, and I've done this tons of times because I just don't want to do it anymore.
Sure.
You can just go and look up pictures of the map, and people have written the route on there.
Oh yes.
Because the cool thing about this is basically what happens is you just want to get all the blue butterflies and none of the red ones. As soon as you get the red one, you get into a forced encounter, and the enemies are, I think they're like 1.5 times their normal level, so they're really really tough.
They're stronger, and I think it's like you
Um
said, there's different
yeah.
combinations of them, right? Compared to just the
Yeah,
random
yeah.
encounters.
Yeah, but basically the cool thing about this minigame is the location of the red and the blue butterflies never changes. It's always exactly the same. So once you know the route, which can be kind of tricky because it's hard to tell sometimes, because of the camera angle or because of the path itself or what have you, where the red butterflies actually are. Anyways, long story short, if you're able to do it without getting any, or if you're able to do it, I think the encounters just take time. But
Yeah.
basically, if you get all the blue butterflies in the allotted time, this first one, you actually get a really good prize. I believe it's an NP sphere, which is pretty sweet.
Wow. Yeah, that is nice. Again, it's just a matter of the random counters and then timing it. And yeah, it is pretty hard to see. I was thinking about this. I was like, man, I was looking at it. I was going to. I didn't try it on on this playthrough. It's like, dude, this is way easier to see though now compared to like the PlayStation 2 on my tube TV, you know what I mean? Like I'm just sitting here with the HD remastered on a 2K
pixelated.
monitor, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a nice color. And tube TV, it's like,
Yeah.
is that blue? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell.
Well, and there's a little part at the end too that even if you do have a nice TV and stuff, it's hard to tell where they're at because the camera's so far from you and you can't exactly tell if it's like right in that corner
Yeah,
or
that's true.
if it's like right in the middle of the path. So it's just one of those things, honestly, like you said, it's not difficult, it just takes patience. Once you encounter them one time, you'll remember it, you just go around and
Yep.
one other thing I will say, I've seen this before, and this is a horrible thing to happen. When you finish it, you're almost like right near the exit. Do not go into the exit, otherwise you're gonna have to do the whole thing again without the prize,
Yes.
even if you got it. That I've seen that before because the chest disappears. Just sucks.
Yeah,
So
just be
don't do
mindful.
that.
Because I mean, we know how it is in this game. You'll be, you're pressing the analog stick in a direction. The
Yeah, you're
screen
just holding it,
changes,
right.
and as long as you're holding it, you're going that direction. But it's like you're pressing up, and the
Right.
character's moving left, and you're like, okay, And so we know it's a little janky at times.
And there's even another one at the next screen that we're just about to talk about. So you continue on, you keep going, you're still like, on the tree, like this route kind of pathway. And there's another one here, but the prize isn't nearly as good, so I wouldn't bother. It's an elixir.
So if you just continue forward, we'll eventually kind of hit like a crossroad area. It's just wide open. You'll notice it because there's a save sphere, and there's a Waka. The guy's just gonna follow us around forever. He has holiday pricing in honor of the wedding, so that's nice. Here's the thing. Go ahead and talk to him, browse, do what you want, but I would maybe not buy. Raise your hand if you've bought something and then backed out and then I fall on my hands to my head. I know I was wrong. You're just like, oh no, because he's like, he's something like, I don't know what, price is too steep, you think, chop? And you can be like, too pricey, and he'll lower his prices, and it's actually it's pretty good amount. It's pretty funny, and so that's the thing. Don't buy it, back out. Say it's too pricey, he'll lower them, then go ahead and go in. For instance, most expensive thing here is a Sonic Steel, which I think that's pretty good. We kind of talked about initiative earlier in an earlier episode, maybe the Mihin operation. Now this is first strike, so no matter what, I think it's a Tidus weapon. He's got first turn, right? I mean, that's that. And so that's pretty good. I can't say it's too useful right now. I mean, it is nice always having the first hit no matter what, but do you really need it? I mean, I don't, but
No, definitely not. I've gotten this, like, I think I usually get this, and it's really nice to have because this is kind of where you start getting a lot of ambushes.
okay. Yeah, the counter
it's
rate
like
on that goes up.
I mean, I'm sure, like just randomly, if you're playing through, you'll notice from Thunder Plains on, you start getting ambushed like all the time. And the nice thing about it being Tidus is that he can just use fleet. This could even be useful late game. I think it's definitely worth it. But yeah, I mean, to your point, at this point in the game, not the most useful thing. So you can definitely skip it if you needed to.
And it's about 12,000. Now I do have the 30% discount. If you back out and go back in for that, it'll now be about 9,000 after you say two prices. So I mean that's $3,000, not bad. The second kind of best expensive item, and really the only thing I think it's even worth talking about from his other stuff is just it's a Rod of Darkness. So it's kind of like the Kate Sith that we just keep getting for Lulu, but this is only darkness, man. Like this is I'm sorry, like it's 7.6 thousand and then 5.7 if you say too pricey. It's not worth it. I mean, for Yuna, that's terrible.
No, I mean honestly, like if you're just playing a normal run, it's completely useless. I don't even understand. Like, you know what I mean? It'd have to be like
it's just darkness, man.
Only.
I mean, like why use her to apply darkness?
It's a bunch of things. Yeah, it's just darkness. It's dark touch, and it's Yuna. I mean, I'm not gonna waste a turn with her attacking.
Trying to have Yuna apply darkness with the wand, but whatever. I mean, like 50%. I said, yeah, 50% rate. Woohoo! There are other items, like I said. Most of them will just have kind of like either 3 or 5% additions to like health or strength or magic or something. All right, well, there is an Albed Primer, Volume 15. It's to the right of where Owaka is. It's kind of not hard to see, but it will kind of hide behind some like shrubbery and things and certain like angles. And so just go ahead and pick that up. It's just on the ground there. And then if you just move forward, we get a scene. So, dude, this is ridiculous. Like Auron wants to stop, Yuna's kind of like now like the roles have changed, right? Everyone else has been wanting to stop and Auron's been like, come on. But now all of a sudden it's okay when Auron wants to stop. It's always just whatever Auron wants to do, old man just gets his way, I guess. But, regardless, he's like, there's something that we need to see. Dude, what is more impressive? I wrote this question down. I think I gotta ask it. You listeners, you can decide for yourself too. What is more impressive? The fact that clearly was something placed here, okay, 10 years ago, and there's that much growth of the forest. Like, oh my gosh, dude, those trunks were like, holy cow. They were massive, massive trunks and branches and stuff. So it's more, impressive that grew in 10 years? That's it, 10 years? Or the fact that Auron just goes Paul Bunyan style on this and like chung ching ching. That's trees, man, with the cantana. Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, he cuts it. Sword is pretty sick.
Dude,
I'll give
after
him
it backs out,
right?
that is like a clean
But
tree
still,
removing service,
yeah,
my friend. That's like Auron and
yeah,
Stepson Lumber Company at your service.
yeah.
Come on,
I
Tidus.
agree with you. It's funny. He's like basically cutting like a redwood down with one fell swoop,
Yeah,
just like one
he's like, it
slice.
won't take long. He's got his
Yeah.
hairless pit out and starts hacking away. And anyways, we got a path now, so it
Oh
kind of
man.
leads back into this big old pool, and it's kind of cool. And then here's kind of what Alex alluded to earlier with the whole water element in this forest is that you get
Hmm.
the tidbit of info that like this water. I don't know. I'm assuming it's like this specific water is what I'm assuming from this forest at least. Like is
Yeah.
what creates spheres, and so it's kind of an interesting concept. Spheres aren't even really that ingrained into this game. What is this X2 where it says spheres are just magically appearing everywhere now all of a sudden? Imagine that. I mean, but yeah,
Well, X2 took spheres to a whole nother level.
yeah. But there's something
Yeah.
else here, man.
Yeah, I mean, so one other thing that it does actually cracks a lot of fiends as well, apparently. And then at that moment, you see this basically like a big old jello blob
Jello, yeah.
basically
You
form,
see
right? I
Jello.
mean, so this is Spheromorph. This guy is actually pretty tough the first
Yeah.
time you encounter him, I'm sure, and
He is, and
you're not
it's gonna
ready
be some
for him.
trial and error for sure. For the first few times because yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
all right, let me go ahead. I'm just gonna attack him. You'll learn that it's very, physical attacks don't do very much, and so
yeah.
not really a solid tactic. Magic is the way to go, but well, it rotates elemental weaknesses and it's random, and so I don't know, man. What's usually your tactic in this battle?
So yeah, like you said, physical attacks don't do too much. He's got 10,000 HP. Right off the bat, I usually steal for that. Seems like he drops that turbo ether pretty frequently, but I guess it's either an ether or a turbo ether.
Okay.
So I get that right off the bat, and then basically what you'll find out about this battle is that he's when you attack him, he counters with some magic, right? So it'll be fire, blizzard, thunder, or water. That's going to be his elemental weak or his strength. Like he'll absorb that, and then obviously the inverse will be his weakness. So that's kind of the thing with this battle. But once you hit him for the weakness, have Yuna attack him, counters with some spell. You're like, oh, okay, fire. Hit him with blizzard. Then he switches to some other. He does like an elemental shift kind of thing,
Yep.
and so you just got to repeat that over and over again. But to answer your question, this is one I just like to use focus a couple times, three
Okay.
times or so, and
Really?
then
I didn't know that.
well, because I mean
You've
you'll
never
get
said
a
you used focus before. First time I'm hearing it.
well, I do that to try and get the
I'm
overkills.
just kidding,
I don't know.
man.
I think for this guy it works pretty good,
Yeah,
but
essentially the same. I mean, I don't know how else you do it. You could guess, so you could just go ahead and use some spells. But like you said, he's going to absorb one. The other two, do we know? Do they do just regular damage? I would imagine it's probably half. It might even be null. I don't know. But, regardless,
I
you're
think
not.
he's null to him, to be honest.
Well,
Yeah, I
so
think he's
it's not
null.
going to be effective to just kind of guess. And so, yeah, usually you just have. Thing is
25.
it doesn't do much. Like his spells that he does is like, I don't know, it's like a 400 counter. But
Yeah.
obviously, once you find out, you don't want to just keep attacking over and over and over, right? I mean, you'll go ahead, hit him with magic, move on, and do it that way. Not too difficult. He does do kind of like this Jello slam where he turns into like, I don't know, a rectangular prism and
Hydraulic
lands on
press,
you,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then they're inside and they go real quick and eat it. They're trying to eat him to death is what it is. They just slurp him down, and so. But no, I mean it does an okay amount. It's like 7. He does another one too where he like flattens out and like hits everyone as well, right? So.
Yeah, I think that one's called hydraulic press,
Oh, okay.
and he's got some other one, but yeah, that's pretty much the only strategy. That's all there is to talk about this guy because on top of that, he's immune to everything. I think I don't even think you can. Pretty sure you can't magic break him, mental break, armor break, anything like that.
Okay.
And of course, sleep, silence. Of course, none of that stuff is going to work. So he's pretty much I think it's pretty easy if you just get Yuna out there, attack him, find out his weakness, hit him with the level 2 spell.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy that way. It's not too bad.
Take
Hopefully,
like 5 turns.
yeah. Well, because I was going to say, yeah, hopefully you have the tier 2 at this point. I don't know how you would, and especially after all those battles. And so, kind of an easier boss. You will get a level 2 key sphere for winning. If you overkill, obviously you'll get 2. That's not bad. We finally got into the 2s. They've given us enough 1s finally, I guess. They want to give us like 20 more level
Yeah.
1 key spheres right here.
Got too many level 1s at this point. I mean,
Gotta
this is
use them
why,
all.
when you first get them, you just use them, yeah, because they're not hard to get.
Yeah. So once you defeat them, we start to get some more story of what was here. Auron tells you that like Jecht left a sphere here for, I guess, essentially like Tidus, but you kind of get it like it starts out like it plays at the beginning, it's like a home video recorder tape, like all the way to the back, right? We're watching it, and he's like
Yeah.
recording them leaving. Vel is where they're leaving, right, with Braska and a younger,
Mhm.
strapping young Auron, a whopping 10 years. Like it's like he looks like 30 years younger, okay, but whatever.
Been through some serious crap.
It essentially he's just like home videoing it, he's just documenting and stuff, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Essentially, well, Oren's kind of the sourpuss there. He's like, "What are you doing?" And so he's
Yeah.
like, "Dude, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm a superstar, bud. You don't know my life. We got to record all this. I'm the
Yeah, I mean,
best video
it's
recorder."
it's interesting though, right? Because it's like, you get to see the backstory and all that kind of stuff. You get to see how their journey
Yes.
began and what happened. And, there's always that interesting question of, or at least I've heard this in the Final Fantasy X community of, a Final Fantasy where you play as, Jecht, Braska, and Auron. It would be pretty interesting, but I think it's always just that thing of you already know how the story plays out. Right, especially when
Yeah.
there's going to be more of these spheres that you get more backstory and things like that.
This one, yep, we just get kind of they're leaving again. Auron tells them it's not a pleasure cruise. Then it goes back. There's more. Jets is sitting there. Basically, this time it's just kind of directly to Tidus, or actually, I don't know. There's also like one at the Macalania. Like he says, Braska, you should get one for Yuna. They're just kind of doing this
Oh,
thing.
right,
They're just having
right.
moments of like, hey, we should make recordings for our kids. Essentially, is what it is. And then I don't understand this because we get a scene with Jed where he basically says like goodbye to Tidus, like, hey, if you're getting this, you're stuck just like I am, like, but don't
Mhm.
cry. He's like, at some point, you got to know, it's time to stop crying. And so he's a lot nicer here. But like, dude, this is like the beginning of their journey. Did they come right here? We know Bavel's right there, so he just left it. He's like 2 miles into the trip. He's
Yeah.
like, oh man,
Well,
I guess I'll say goodbye to my kid. All right, kid, if you're seeing this, good riddance.
and that's the other interesting thing too, right? Is, in this story, your path is pretty linear. It goes from Besaid all the way north, and they start from Macalania. So it's like, okay, so did they go south or did they go north at that
Yeah.
point?
Yeah, what'd they do? And they're gonna have to backtrack at some point. Oren kind of also breaks down a little bit after that. Jet basically just gave up on going home. He knew that he couldn't go back, and so rather than I guess pursuing that, he decided to go ahead and help them defeat Sin. So that's why he even stuck with them and all that. And Tidus is kind of just like, yeah, all right, whatever, cool, man. I mean, it's a teenage kid, is what his response is to that on their way out. Owen's like,
Yeah.
Tidus, your father loves you, Tidus. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to hear it. Gosh.
Yeah. But, I guess Auron, good pal there, he's trying to help connect the two, so that was good. Also, it does give a breakdown now that Auron will learn his overdrive shooting star from this, and then it kind of just gives a breakdown of these spheres. You find more, you will unlock different overdrives. And so, I don't know, in my opinion, this is probably going to be the very best time if you're just wanting to unlock all of his overdrives. You might want to go ahead and just backtrack right now. I mean, you're only going to be going
That's a good point.
further and have to backtrack further, but things are going to start to get blocked off, and I don't really have the info on when that starts to happen. I mean, definitely after the airship, but if you wait too long, you actually can't go back to some areas without having to fight some, like, really hard bosses.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because like you said, so at this point, they all become available, all the way spanning back to Besaid. And yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying. Once you get the airship, essentially,
Yeah.
you're gonna be you're gonna be locked off
Out of
some of these
luck.
because they're gonna be some seriously tough end game style
Yeah.
bosses that are gonna be blocking them. So
And it'll be a while before you're strong enough to take them out. I mean, that's the problem. You can't just stop in and get it real quick and go. It's nope, you just can't even get in
yeah,
the area. So I don't know. That's my opinion. It makes it easy if you're on the remaster because yeah, just kick on ×4 speed, no encounters, and just go all the way back, and you'll be able to get pretty much all of them. And so that'll be pretty great.
yeah, yeah.
And then at this point,
And
you'll just have Auron as a beast.
yeah, exactly. Because I was gonna say Shooting Star is an awesome overdrive. Basically, it's really different from the first one. It just hits one enemy, but it has a chance of just ejecting them straight
Yep.
out of the battle.
Bye.
And it's one of my favorite ones. It's so useful. It's great even at the end game.
Yep. So that's pretty cool. And now at this point, we just gotta go on towards, I think it's like the only exit, move on towards the snow area. It's Lake Macalania. And you get to go to another Rin's travel agency. And it's pretty funny because when I first got here, my initial thought was like, dude, this guy literally has like a monopoly on gas stations. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no one else in this whole entire world that has an idea to like make some rest stops. Like it's insane. And so anyways, Rin is just, dude, he must
Yeah.
be loaded. And it's funny because you'll get to Owaka, you'll see Owaka there, he's by the door. He says the same thing. He's like, man, curse Rin for having this spot during the celebration. He's gonna make a killing. He's like, oh, he's not very happy for him is Owaka's, but we know he's a capitalist, man. He's just trying to make money.
He's a businessman. Yeah, exactly. This is competition. And I mean, he's right. Seriously, since Mihen, right? We had that one there.
Yeah,
And then, of course, the Thunder Plains one, and now we got Lake Macalania. It's like, you got to think all the people who are going on the pilgrimage, they're
yeah.
all going to be stopping there buying potions, Phoenix Downs, things like that.
Chocobo rides. It's all Rin, man. It's all goes to Rin's coffers. Pretty funny.
Yeah,
Before you even talk to Owaka, though, you'll probably see it. It's very plain, this one, but there's another Albed Primer, Volume 16. It's to the left of the door, just kind of on the side of the building. Get
yeah.
that, and then Owaka. So again, he's not too happy. It's so, what the heck, man? We just had this conversation, bud. You asked if your prices were too pricey. I said yes, they were. You dropped them. Now they're even higher than they were to begin with, and they're there.
Yeah.
So if you wanted a Sonic Steel and you decided to wait and buy it, well, now it's almost 14,000. Granted, it's got an additional strength plus 3%. Oh man, oh, so much better now. But yeah, it's even more money.
I mean, you're paying what? If you got the discount before, then you're paying 5,000 gil more for strength plus 3.
Yeah, seriously.
It's not going to change your life.
No. There's a couple other things of note that I just jotted down. We got another halberd for Kamari. And the last one was like, what was it? It was magic plus 20% was what it was?
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this
but
one's
it
not
didn't
quite
have
as nice.
piercing.
This one it's got 2 of the magic nodes for a total of 8%. So it has 5 and 3, so much lower. But this one actually does have piercing. Still, we talked about it, if you decide to just take Kamari a magic route, then sure, I mean, yeah, go for it. But I mean, the piercing or not piercing isn't really like the factor for me using these spirits. It's that it's magic for Kamari. Like I never take a
It's
magic away.
just, yeah, I mean, and it's inconsistent. It doesn't even make any sense, right? It's like, okay, if you're focusing on magic, with Kumari,
Sure.
Why would he need piercing anyways? You're
Yeah.
not going to be attacking. The whole point of it is just to boost magic. So it's always one of those weird things where it's like you got to be playing a really unique kind of game. Or I guess, I mean, one thing that would make sense to me if you equip that, but he's like well-rounded, he's got a good strength stat.
Sure.
Increased magic could be really good for, I've noticed, I noticed especially on my game, man, where I took him on Lulu's path. His magic abilities like Fire Breath or his magic overdrives, Fire Breath, Aqua Breath, they were doing crazy damage.
Okay. Yeah, and
Because I don't
I
think
can
I've
see
ever
that.
done that, so
No, and that does make
yeah.
sense because they usually always suck, you know, and I usually never
Yeah,
use
it's the
them because they'll
same.
do like 2 to 300. It's like, okay,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah, this one, it was doing like 2,000 damage. I'm
nice.
like,
Well,
whoa,
so
okay.
yeah, and you'll have the hybrids, but man, I mean, I've been going about as fast as you probably can on the grid. I did get like one of the couple extra little circles, you know, off on Kamari's before just going straight, but I've been using return spheres and all that, and I just now finally got use. So I just got steal and use finally.
Oh, yeah.
And so even then, you still probably at this point in the game when you're getting this weapon like that, you know, you're probably not going to use it. But anyways, we're not going to keep going down that rabbit trail. That's there. And then last thing of note that I just wrote down was Soldier's Targe for Riku, just because it has a total of plus 15 HP. That's
Yeah.
it. But, you know, hey, she probably does have a little bit lower right now. So if you just really need an extra help boost, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I have heard that's a really critical one for, let's say, like no sphere grid.
Oh,
Those are
man.
the types
Yeah,
of things that can, yeah, that can actually mean, make or break on some of these boss fights. So I guess that's kind of the point of some of these is it totally depends on how your play style.
sure. And well, there's one more person on the outside that you'll probably notice. It is Clasco, and he has a chocobo, or maybe it's the only one chocobo. He's like, I don't know, he's talking to himself. He's like, they always leave me. It's like, well, it's because you
God.
just whine all the time, man. That's it. And I don't know, as he goes around, they just kind of talk. He knows that the chocobo like wants to be pet or something like that. He knows. He's like, oh, he's
Yeah.
thought I was be a good breeder. He's like, wait, what do you think? It's like, dude, well, I don't know. Am I your career counselor now? All of a sudden, you don't even know me. Like, why are
Yeah.
you trying to get my opinion? Why does that matter to you? But
Yeah.
well, here you go. You get to help Clasco decide his life. And so he either wants to know if he should be a Chocobo Knight still or a Chocobo Breeder, man. What do you see? Or what do you usually
Well,
say?
I just gotta say right off the bat, real quick, that I find it hilarious how Titus is like, "How'd you know what it wanted?" It's like, what the heck else would it want? I mean,
Yeah, it's a
it makes like a movement like it wants to be petted.
yeah,
Okay, no, for this one, I mean, honestly, it's kind of this thing of so it gives you that choice, knight or breeder. I usually say breeder. I think that's kind of the normal thing, right? A lot of players kind of feel bad for Classico. I don't know. I mean, some people don't like him. I mean,
right.
I can get it. He's a whiny kind of guy for sure, but definitely he's not suited for being a Chocobo Knight.
No, and put many lives on danger, him standing guard. You're endangering your fellow knights there, Clasco. No, it is pretty funny.
Yeah.
If you select knight, he goes like, oh, for a moment there, I really thought you were gonna say breeder. It's like he needed that secondary confirmation to follow through with his dream, and I just
Yeah.
stepped all over it.
So that's the problem. He needs too much validation.
Yeah,
It's like,
no
dude,
complaints.
why don't you just do what you need to do?
Yeah,
Yeah. But hey, I mean, one cool thing, so outside of the travel agency, this whole area where Classico is, and we're just standing there, you
sure.
can get in these random encounters with a whole new set of enemies here. So you've got Evil Eye, basically same as always, evasive, weak to fire, and he's got that annoying gaze attack that causes confusion.
And then you kind of just have the standard ones. You got another flame here. This one's the ice one. I mean, because we're in the snow and so weak to fire. You got Snow Wolf, which weak to fire, and then typical of the wolves just can silence or sleep on hit. And then the last one is the Mafdet. Mafdet.
Mapped it.
Yeah, it's just one of
Um,
those shell things. This one actually looks pretty cool, man. And the thing is like, everyone's been ice so far, because it makes sense. This one's
yeah.
not, though. He almost looks like he's fire because he's actually weak to ice because you'll see his shell, but there's like pores on the outside and there's like steam coming out of it. Like,
And there's gas coming out.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, dude, like what's going on under there?
So
You
the
just got some roasted molten lava inside you? Like, goodness.
Sort of like there's that one Pokemon called Weezer, right? Something like that, you know
Coughing,
what I
yeah.
mean? He's like literally he's just exuding this gas. It's really, really strange. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, again, I think most notable with these guys, like you said, very standard, right? I mean, like Ice Flame, for example,
Yeah.
super easy, just cast no frost and you're good. But you can get some really awesome steals from these guys. So Evil Eyes, you can actually start to get Musk as a rare steal, which you can customize Confuse, but you need a ton of them, so I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, you need like 48 for Confuse proof. Ice
Wow.
Flan, this is where you can really, really stack up those Arctic Winds because you can start getting them by 2s and 3s from this guy. And Snow Wolf too, this is a really great, this is basically the first time where you can get Sleeping Powder as a common steal. And Sleeping Powder you can do Sleep Touch, customization, Sleep Ward.
Cool.
Good place to steal. I mean, especially like the wolves and things, they drop them as a common steal. You can usually get about 3 or 4 per wolf.
Right on. Yeah, and it's a small little area, so it's pretty easy just to roam around and get into battles and all that. And so when you're all done with all that, you can just head on inside. All the parties kind of just separated again. You can talk to all of them. None of them really have anything interesting to say. It's kind of this the usual. Yuna looks worried. Blah blah blah. What's taking so long?
Gloomy right now. Yeah.
Well, that's what Waka does say something like, everyone's so
Yeah.
happy, but none of us are happy. He basically says,
A
and
wedding shouldn't make people feel this bad.
yeah,
Yeah, something like
something
that.
like that. And so, yeah, you get the kind of gloomy appearance, even though we know what we're going into. Anyways, there is a save sphere there, so we're gonna go and save it. That's where we're gonna stop for this episode. And so we would always like, or rather, as always, we would like to just thank you for spending time with us, listening to the episode. We just appreciate your support with the podcast. You can check out our website, finalstop.finalfantasytalks.com. It's where we got the blog, we got all the Blitzball stuff that's up there, and just make sure you check that out. Check out the player cards that we put together. It's pretty cool stuff. You can also check out our Instagram, same handle, and we just, post media of the episodes as we go. And so, it's kind of fun, and just it's another way for you all to interact if you so choose and leave comments and stuff, which we just enjoy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
All right, I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Final Stop for Final Fantasy Talks.